All right, let's get started with this workshop then. So let me first introduce myself. I am Niklesh. I am the DMO product lead, and I'm joined here by my colleague Hari, who's the senior product dev. So both of us will be conducting this workshop. We have something really exciting for you. So please do follow along. And my suggestion here would be feel free to ask us questions. You don't need to wait until the end to do this. At any point during this workshop, if you're not able to follow through or you have any questions, you can raise it in the Q&A that you'll find at the bottom, or you can add it as a comment, right? Either one works here. So yeah, and just to sort of like also set the agenda here as such, right? So in this workshop, what we'll be doing is we'll go through DMO, we'll go through DMO's core workflows to create a site, plan missions, right? So and between each of these major core flow sections, we'll be taking a break where you guys can try it out on your side as well, and we'll have some follow-up questions to see whether you guys understood the concepts, right? So we're trying to make this as interactive as possible. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us, right? And if we need to have a bit of a conversation, we can also allow you to talk so that you can ask your questions verbally. That is also something that we can do. Okay. Before I hand it over to my colleague, let me just sort of like briefly introduce also the product as such. Hari, can you go to the next slide? All right. So Hari and myself, we are part of Skylark Drones, which has been around for a couple of years now. I'm pretty sure many of you would know us, right? So we've been involved in almost 5,000 plus projects, drone survey projects across different sectors like mining, solar, roadways, and so on, right? And during these years of, I would say, executing projects, we have made our own share of mistakes, and we have kind of like learned from that, right? And out of the learning is how we got Drone Mission Ops, or DMO in short, right? Which is a pilot companion that will aid pilots in executing these projects, where it takes care of all the intricate details while allowing the pilot, to take care of the high-level details and things like client interaction and communication and so on. Okay, so I think with that said, let's get started into this workshop. Right. Let me hand it over to my colleague here. Hari, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Niklesh. So good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to do the workshop with all of you because, along with you, I'll also be the one planning missions, planning sites. So it's definitely going to be exciting. And I really hope that this workshop proves to be beneficial to a lot of you. Right. So with that said, I think we can already jump in. Let's go. So so this is our web platform for DMO. So this is where a majority of the operations do happen, starting from the point where the client gives you the area of interest to fly, all the way to ensuring that the quality of the data is good. Right. So because this is going to be an interactive workshop, so what I'll do is I'll share the link to you, to everyone. Right. So please do open the link, as you will be as both of us will be working together, or all of us will be working together in this workshop. Right. So link has been shared. All right, I hope everyone has opened the link. Right, so so I think we can continue to DMO. Right, so the DMO web portal, it offers a wide variety of features that I mentioned before. But to make the most out of DMO, it is recommended that you get into the ecosystem by signing up first. Right, so I'll be signing up along with you. So signing up is going to be as easy as just clicking on this button, right? Choosing your account, preferably your work account, right? And it's like a few seconds of work that we need to do. And then there you go. So you are already into the DMO ecosystem now, right? And yeah, I'll go through each of these workflows in detail for sure. And yeah, so let's start exploring. Okay, so I just want to take a pause for 1 minute here so that all of you have also signed up. Okay, I hope all of you have signed up. Right, so yeah, so welcome to the demo family. Yeah, so I think we can get started with a very brief overview of what you are seeing here. Right, so here, like DMO essentially caters to a majority of the use cases that you generally have with when you own a drone. Right, so may it be a normal survey to mining to solar sector all the way to surveillance and inspection. Right, so in this particular workshop or in this particular series of workshop, we will be covering the area survey in depth. Right, so because of how popular it is, especially in the Indian geography. Right, so yeah, so we'll be starting with that. So the first thing that you can do is you can come here, you see the sites button here, right? So just click on that. Right, so what you see here is basically a few sites, a few areas of interest that have been pre-created for you to explore DMO, right? So as I mentioned before, a DMO comes into the picture as soon as the client gives you the work order, as soon as the client gives you the requirements or the area that needs to be captured, right? And usually the area is shared in formats like KML or KMZ, which is very popular in this industry, right? But there are also cases uh, where you don't really know the area of interest before reaching site, right? So like a rooftop inspection or yeah, even a terrace mapping and things like that. Right, so there you need to actually draw the site after going on field. So this is where DMO offers you multiple ways to go about this. So one, you can either upload a site as a KML or KMZ, or you can choose to draw the site. Right, so because uploading site is more popular, we will focus on that in this workshop. Right, so the KML that I'll be working with, so I will share that to you on the chat. So please download it from there so that you can follow me throughout this workshop. Right. So I hope I've shared the KML. Please do download it. And yeah, so let's start with the upload site workflow. So I'm going to click here and just choose the KML that you want to upload, which is just a moment. My bad. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so this is the KML that has been shared with you. Right, so as soon as you upload the KML, you kind of get to see the boundary on the map, right? Along with that, there are a couple of other things that you do see, like the size of the area, which here is around 1,800 acres, right? Apart from that, there is also like some yellow lines coming here, right? Apart from this area of interest. So this, let me just zoom out a little bit. And yeah, so you see that there are some red color lines, some yellow color lines. So what do they mean? Right, so so DMO has fully integrated the airspace information from Digital Sky for you to know whether you need special permissions to fly, what are the hurdles apart from drone flying here. Right, so when I click on this yellow area, you get to see that this is a wildlife sanctuary. That is why this comes under the yellow zone, right? So just by uploading the site, you get to know what are the permissions that you need to fly, any potential delays, etc., etc. Right. So let me just go ahead and confirm this area by clicking on this button and then saving the site. Great. Let me just close this for a second. Yeah. So this area that you see now, the second question that the client would generally ask is how much time is it going to take to finish this project, right? So one factor is definitely permissions that we covered just now. Second factor is is how accessible is this area? Can I go inside from any point within the site and fly? Can I place GCPs anywhere that I want? Right? And this accessibility is something that we can kind of figure out by just looking at the map. So you see that there's a road going here, so probably this is accessible, right? But many times the maps do tend to be outdated, right? So there you can choose to click here, and you can change the map layer to get a better visibility depending on the use case, right? Or the best way to do this is to actually see the elevation profile of this area, right? Like elevation profile will tell you the ground truth of uh, what the area will look like, right? So if it's a highly varying area, a highly varying terrain, highly varying elevation terrain, then you're most likely going to have some hills or something along those lines, right? So this is what DMO allows you to do just by simply clicking on this checkbox. Right, so just by clicking here, you kind of get to see that, okay, there's a good amount of elevation difference in this region as compared to this region, right? So accessibility is going to be definitely easier here, right? And there seems to be about a good 80 meters of elevation difference in this area, right? So some amount of delay could come in because of placing GCPs, especially in these areas, right? So this is another aspect of potential delays that you can have. So this is very crucial for you to assess the site, right? Yeah, so finally, what I wanted to touch upon as well is like the KMLs that you upload, please do ensure that the KMLs have only single feature, like one polygon or one line. Currently, I mean, DMO recommends doing that for seamless experience. Apart from that, KMLs which have self-intersecting polygons. By that, I mean, let me just show you so you can edit the site. Like this type of KML or this type of feature is not allowed, right? Because it's considered invalid for various reasons, right? So please do clean the KML before you upload them. Right. At this point, I would like to take a pause so that everyone can catch up to this just for a couple of minutes, and we will go from there. Right. So again, I think Niklesh has stressed enough on this, but anytime anyone has a question, please feel free to put it up on chat. Or if you want to speak verbally, please do raise your hand. We'll unmute you.
Yeah, so we have our first question, which is, can I do this on my MacBook Air? Yeah, absolutely. Right, just open any browser and navigate to app.dronemissionops.com. Right, we had shared the URL earlier, and you'll be able to follow through the steps that Hari is showing you here. Right, Hari, we got another question, I suppose, from Madhusudan, which is he missed the elevation point.
Okay, got it. We will cover that. So everyone who has joined right now, so I will just post the link to the web again so that you can catch up. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Madhusudan. So yeah, we'll go through the elevation part, right? So as I mentioned, accessibility is a big issue when it comes to flying drones or doing survey projects in areas, right? So some of the ways to gauge the accessibility is just by looking at the map, but sometimes that's just not enough because of map being outdated, right? So that's where looking at the elevation profile of this area would help out. So you can just come here, come to the map types button, and then you can click on this checkbox. And there you go. So you have the elevation profile for this entire site, where the elevation varies from 224 meters all the way to 304 meters. Right? You kind of get to know that this particular area could be a small mountain that we need to watch out for. Like you can get insights like this by just looking at the elevation profile. I hope that covers it.
All right, I'm going to put up a poll, right, where people can answer the questions that we have pertaining to the site upload, right? Okay, so yeah, for the folks who have completed this first step of uploading the site on their laptop, right, please feel free to go through the poll question and try to answer them, to the best of your knowledge. All right, I think we'll stop this here and we'll move on. Hari, I'm going to end the poll, right? And then let's answer the questions for everybody. Okay,
Sure.
so yeah, to begin with, the very first question, like what is the min and max elevation of this site? Right, Hari, can you show the elevation legend there?
Yeah. So you can get that by coming here and clicking on this checkbox. And you kind of get to see the legends of, or the entire profile of elevations here, which here clearly you can see that it varies from 224 meters all the way to 304 meters.
Right, and that's the right answer. And that's how simple it is to find the elevation difference within a site. All right, moving on to the second question. Which of the following file formats are supported for site upload? Right, so this is a multi-choice question. Hari, can you quickly show that?
Yeah. So currently, I believe we support accepting both KML and KMZ files. Right, so SHP and PDF files are currently not supported. Yeah, and PDF files and all are generally not recommended when you are dealing with geometries. KML, KMZ, yeah, is what is supported.
Great. All right, moving on to the last question. How many features should be present in the KML file to successfully upload a site?
Right. So currently that's going to be 1. So we need to ensure that every KML that you upload has a single feature in it so that DMO can process it better and you can do your mission planning and everything else from there seamlessly.
All right. I think those are all the poll questions. Hari, let's move on to the next step.
Yeah, sure. All right, so the next section is, I would say, going to be the most interesting or the most important section, because one thing that we didn't discuss when it comes to client asking for timelines is how much time is it going to take to fly this area of interest, right? How many batteries is it going to take, and other things like that. So here, the only way to accurately tell you how much time it's going to take is by actually planning the flight paths or missions for this area. right? But clearly we saw that this area was about 1700 acres or 1800 acres, right? So clearly you can't fly this in a single mission. So you need to actually plan missions of a fixed size and then go from there, which generally takes about a few hours, but we'll see how we can reduce it to a few seconds on DMO. Right, so the first step is to click on the plan mission button, which you see here in green color. Right, since this is a survey project, so we will focus on the mapping mission type, which you can do so by hovering and clicking here. Right, at this point, what you see is the same area of interest, but apart from that, there are a few parameters that we need to set that controls how the flight paths are going to look like. Right, so the first one is definitely the GST that you want to set. So GST, as I'm sure everyone would know, is what controls the quality of the output. Lower the GST, better is the resolution. Right, so this is generally provided by the client. Right, so we can, I mean, this project, I believe, was set to around 2.2 centimeters. So yeah, we'll follow the same. Right. The next one is, which is equally important, is the overlap between images. So overlap, as you know, is critical to ensure that images stitch to create a map, right? Generally, we do recommend setting 75-70% overlap if you are flying over distinct features. Distinct features, by that I mean, in a single image, if you find like a building, a tree, a car, like multiple things, then you can choose to go for a lower overlap, which is 75-70. But if the terrain is very uniform, like for example, let's say a crop field or a desert or even snow, right? So there, like difference between two neighboring images will not be much, right? So there, it's important that you set a high overlap, right? So I'm going to leave it at 75-70. I would request you to do the same. So next up is the elevation. So by default, all the missions that are planned on DMO are terrain follow. So this is done just to ensure that the GST and overlap are not affected by the elevation difference. Right, so currently you can leave it at global elevation data, but for areas which like mines where the elevation varies very frequently, we do recommend setting custom elevations, right? But we won't go through that right now. But if anyone is interested in how DMO helps in planning missions for mines, please do feel free to reach out. And yeah, finally, the resource that you have, the drone that you have, right? So you need to set that based on which the missions will be planned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the most popular drone of the decade, which is the Mavic 3E, Mavic 3 Enterprise. Right, and as soon as you do that, you kind of get to see all the missions already planned. Right, so these are planned based on each mission being around 350 acres. Right, so you don't need to manually draw and how you would do for any other software. Right, so here you can tweak the area and you can see that the missions are also changed by that. Right, yeah, I'm going to set this to 200 acres, and of course you can tweak the drone speed according to what the use case demands. Right, and that's about it. So once you set all of these parameters, you can just go ahead and save missions. Right, so at this point, the flight paths for these missions are being generated, which should take just a few seconds. And as you can see, the missions are already planned here. And when I click on any of these missions, you kind of get to see the details about them, as well as the flight path also, like the drone is going to start from here and things like that. Right, and let's say that there's a use case where, or rather there's a scenario where you have flown all the missions in this area, but before flying this mission, you face some hardware issues with your Mavic 3E. There, what you can do is you can edit an individual mission as well and change the camera to, let's say you have a Mavic 3T as well, right? So you can set that. And you can change a whole bunch of things here. You can, so course angle seems a bit off, so let's fix that. You can set it to probably around 90 degrees. 1 second. Yeah. Right, so you have full control over how the missions would look like even after you create them. And let's go ahead and update them. And there you go. So that's pretty much the mission workflow. Now, finally, I'm sure there would be a use case where like the client asks for some extra area to be flown, right? So I think every one of us would have faced that. So let's say the client wants to map this regional center for biotech, right? So what you can do here is click on the plan button, click on draw mission, click on area mapping, and you can draw a polygon around it to plan the mission, right? With the standard parameters, or you can tweak them and then just save it. Right, so this pretty much covers all the aspects of mission planning, right? As you saw, this just takes about a few seconds to do it, right? And one really beautiful thing about this is with just spending this much amount of time, you can already kind of get to know how much time it's going to take. So this is going to take about 1 day, 7 hours. It's going to capture about 13,000 photos, and it's going to take about 41 battery cycles. Right, so these are things which you can quickly use to gauge how much time it's going to take so that you can communicate the same to the client. Right, so yeah, once again, I think I'll be taking a pause so that everyone can catch up. Right, so we'll resume in just a couple of minutes.
All right. In the meantime, I'm going to put up the next poll, which contains questions pertaining to mission planning that we just covered right now. Let's do that. All right. Yeah.
Hi,
Right.
Abhinav. So, sorry, Niklesh. So, Abhinav, so I saw the question. So, you wanted to know how to map a road and highway and railways, like how to cater to that use case, right? So, yeah, without going too much into detail, we'll definitely have a conversation about this. But like DMO also supports like mapping corridor projects, as you can see here, right? So any canals or pipeline or roadways or railways or highways and everything can be planned with this. And on top of that, just not the mapping, but I think NHAI is a very big thing in India, right? So videography is a pretty big thing. So you can also plan videography missions for large corridors in just a few seconds. Yeah.
Nice. We're starting to see answers come into the mission planning questions. We'll soon, like maybe in another 15, 20 seconds, we'll get them validated. Hari, there's one more question from Abhinav. Can you take that up?
Yeah. So yeah, Abhinav is asking like if my RC is disconnected in, I'm guessing, highly varying terrain, then what will happen? Right. So Abhinav, you don't have to worry about that. So if you are planning or I'm flying with DMO, if the RC gets disconnected, the drone will continue to fly the mission. And once it is completed or once it hits the low battery condition, it will automatically return to home in a safe manner.
Right. The mission plan is already terrain follow. So which is to say that the drone will safely, finish off the mission and then come back. Okay, all right. Hari, I think we'll end the poll and then we'll go through the answers. Right. So, starting off with the first question, what is the recommended overlap for uniform terrain like farm fields or deserts? Right. So, yeah. So, this is something I believe Hari kind of like briefly touched upon, during the mission planning session. Right. And also, it's something that DMO recommends as well when you select the overlap. Right. So, you should be picking a higher overlap, a higher front and side overlap. So, something along the lines of 85% is the recommended setting for this. Okay, all right. Moving on to the second question. What is the approximate total battery count for this site? Right, so this is something that you can see right away on Hari's screen, right? So the battery estimate is about 41. So yeah, between 40 to 45, depending on the mission parameters and the drone that you have picked, right? That's the right answer, right? So no more guesswork. Just plan your missions, and then you get to see this. You can give out an educated answer to your clients, to keep them up to date. And the last question: what is the approximate total photo count for this site? Again, that's something that you can see right next to the battery estimate. It's about 12,941 images, right? So yeah, between 12,000 to 13,000 is the right answer. Okay, so yeah, I think with that, Hari, we can move on to our next session on GSPs.
Right. I believe Leo has a question. Raise that hand.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shall I allow him to talk? Okay. Leo, you have the permissions to unmute yourself and then ask your question. Leo, we're not able to hear you. If you're having any trouble with your mic, you can also add your question to the comments or the Q&A section, and then we'll take it up. Okay, I think yeah, Hari, let's move on. We'll wait for Leo's question in the comments. Hari, you're muted. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll move on to the next section of this workshop. So now that site has been assessed, missions have been planned, I think the next crucial thing that we need to look into is planning of ground control points. Right. Uh, so ground control points, or GCPs, as everyone would know, uh, plays a critical role in survey projects where it controls the absolute accuracy of your output. Right. So generally, the way GSPs are planned is via Google Earth. Like, you place GSPs uh, within a certain distance, keep the spacing consistent, right? But on DMO, it has been simplified to a great extent. So what you can do is you can click on plan here, and you can click on the plan GCPs button, right? So once you do that, you kind of get to see the spacing and auto-generate GSP option, right? So GSP spacing general recommendation for majority of the use cases is anywhere between 300 to 350 meters, right? So let me go ahead and set that to around 350. Right, and at this point, since spacing plays the major role here, we'll see how the GSpace would look like when I click on this button. Right, so that's about it, right? So all the GSPs are already generated for you, and without you having to manually plan it, right? But I wouldn't say that we should stop here, because GSPs being physical entities that we need to place on the ground, we need to ensure that uh, uh, wherever we are planning it, we are able to access that area, right? So it shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be planned over someone's terrace, for example. Right, so just to account for that, so let's say this area is not accessible. right? So you can just simply drag the GSP near the road so that it becomes accessible, right? So minor tweaking here and there required, and then you should be good to go, right? And with respect to the 350-meter spacing, although this is the recommended number that many prominent processing softwares like Pix4D have recommended, uh, when you are using drones like PPK or RTK, you can actually uh, reduce the number of GSPs uh, by increasing the distance up to a kilometer. You can place a GSP every kilometer because PPK RTK drones already have good accuracy. Right, so that is one more thing to note. So that's what I would say drives the GSP spacing. Right, so once you are happy with how the GSPs are looking like, you can just click on the update button. And there you go. So we have planned about 55 GSPs. So this will kind of also tell you what is going to be the cost for purchasing a GSP sheets and what is the extra added time required to place the GSPs on feed. Right. So yeah, this I would say is with respect to the GSP planning workflow. Right. So once again, I think let's pause for a minute so that everyone can catch up. We'll resume from there.
Yeah, Hari, so Leo's question was if missions can be paused and resumed for any particular grid. Uh, I think we can answer that here live so that everybody can also get to know the answer.
Right. So you can pause and resume mission anywhere between the mission as required. So if let's say your battery runs out, or let's say you have set an incorrect parameter when you are planning missions on the Android app, which we'll see if we can showcase that right now to showcase basically the execution part. There you'll be able to see how we can pause or resume the mission. Hopefully that answers the question, Leo.
All right. I think in the meantime, I'll put up the poll for questions pertaining to the GSP planning. Okay. Yeah, it should be live. All right. We are starting to see some answers come in from the GSP planning. Okay, let's wait maybe another 5-10 seconds, and then we'll wrap up this section. All right. Okay. Ending the poll here, Hari. So let's give out the answers for the questions. Starting with the very first one. What are the supported GCP import formats? Right. Yeah, this is something that Hari can show on his site. Hari, you're
Yeah,
muted.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so this one thing that I missed out in mentioning. So GCPs. So here, once you plan GCPs, or even before planning GCPs, there are a couple of options available for you. Uh, so, uh, so let's say you are serving the same area again and again, right? So there, you don't want to plan GSPs every time, right? So you probably plan it for the first time and then use the same GSPs again and again in the subsequent surveys, right? So to have that use case, the first thing that you need is to be able to export the GSPs that you planned for the first time, right? So which you can do so by uh, uh, clicking by just coming here or and exporting it either as a CSV or a KML format, right? And once you do the export for the subsequent surveys, you can choose to import them again as a CSV or KML format again, right? CSV formats, I believe we support both the WGS84 system as well as the projected coordinate system as well, right? So it is DMO's flexible in that regard. Yeah, but if you're planning the site for the first time, we highly recommend that you do the planning on DMO.
All right, yeah. Moving on, so CSV, KML are the supported import formats. Moving on to the second one, which is what are the supported GCP export formats. I believe Hari had kind of like shown that as well, CSV and KML. And the last question, how many GCPs are generated for the site assuming a 350 meters GCP spacing? Right, so this is again something that you can see right next to the photo count, right? So there are about 55 GCPs that would be generated for this site here with a 350 meters spacing, right? So yeah, so this is one of the, I would say, perks of DMO, right? Once you do your mission planning and GCP planning, you get to see all of these metrics at the top for easy convenience. You'll immediately know, okay, it's 55 GCPs, and you can sort of like roughly estimate how long would it take to place a GCP and plan your operational timelines based on this. All right, great. Yeah, so let's, I think, move on to, I would say, the next section, right, which is a very interesting one. So yeah, so right now, I think with this coverage, we've gone through site upload, we've gone through mission planning, GCP planning, everything that's necessary to get your site ready for survey, right? So what we're going to do is right now we're going to test your skills. So we have a assignment ready for you guys, right? Hari, you can probably switch screens and then show them the assignment. Right.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Cool. Right. So here, I mean, this assignment, as Niklesh said, is just to assess the site planning, mission planning, GCP planning aspect. Right. So this is a very fun assignment where you get to do everything from scratch. Right. So I'll just read out the question. You can also see it on the screen. Right. So you are part of an Elite 2 pilot drone team having 2 DJI Mavic 3 Enterprise drones. Right. So your crew has received a work order to map a rugged terrain filled with hidden valleys and towering hills. Right. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, the following are the conditions for it. So site boundary, this is something that I have shared on the chat. So please download that. Next up is the image quality. Basically, the GST has to be 2 centimeter per pixel. Right. So the terrain there, we got to know from the client that the terrain is non-uniform and diverse. Right. But the client has a strict deadline that you need to finish flying this area in less than 2 days. Right. And this area could also have potential restricted zones. This is one more warning that we got. And finally, because there could be a good amount of elevation difference, it is required to have the drone in line of sight, and each mission should not be too much above 300 acres. It should be close to 300 acres. Right. And your task here is to check the site, check for special permissions, like check for elevation difference, things like that. Second, our task is to plan the missions, right? And finally, to plan the GCPs, right? So, so here, I think we'll probably give 10 minutes, right? Post that, we'll have some assessment questions, and then we'll walk you through how the answer to this assessment would look like. Right? Yeah. I think we can get started.
Yeah, I just want to add on to this as well. So for people who complete the assessment, right, like the questions, we'll be handing over certificates, Skylark certificates. So yeah, do try your hand here. please do find the site boundary link provided by Hari on the chat. Right, you can use that, download the site boundary, and get started with your task. Your 10 minutes begins now. All right, it looks like some people are already complete with some of the stuff. So I'm going to put up the poll. You can start answering the questions. Don't worry, we will still give you more time for the others to finish off their assignment. Okay, yeah, the poll should be live. Guys, you have another 3 minutes. All right, one last minute. Ooh, we have a variety of answers here. Okay, time's up officially. Harry, shall we get started? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll, guys. If you are still making up your mind, I would suggest quickly answer the polls. I'm going to end it in another 5 seconds. Okay. All right. Yeah, ending the poll right now. Got it. Yeah, let's do this then. Okay. So yeah, I think let's go through the questions one by one. Starting out with, does the site need special flying permissions? Harry, can you take it away? You can
Yeah.
explain your answer and show them where to find it.
Right. So I believe this was the area of interest that everyone would have received, right? So the permissions that I spoke about, the yellow lines, the red lines, that is something that you can notice here, right? So you can see the yellow line intersecting this portion of the site, and clicking on that kind of tells you that there's a Satna airport here, right? And it's a yellow zone above 61 meters, right? So below 61 meters, you can fly the area without any permissions. But since for the required GST, we had to go above 61 meters, this becomes a site which requires permission. So the answer to this is yes.
Okay. All right. Going to the second question. What is the lowest and highest elevation in meters for this site?
Right. So I think we have covered this a couple of times, right? So you can go to map types button, which is found here. and you can click on the elevation heat map, and you get to see the elevation difference, right, which is about 303 to 383 meters. So yeah, 303 and 383 are the right answers.
Wonderful. So that's roughly about 80 meters elevation within this site. Great. Okay. All right. How many missions are needed to map this site? Right.
Right. Yeah, so this is something that uh, we can actually see here without needing to count the number of missions. That is, of course, possible, but it's going to take time for the larger site. Right. So, of course, you can get to know that from here. So, do you see this? Like 0 out of 6 missions are completed. So, which means there are 6 missions planned for this site. Or in our case, it would be about 5 plus. Yeah.
All right. Moving on to the next question. What is the altitude in meters that the drone should fly at to satisfy the GST?
Right. Yeah, so as everyone knows, the drone height uh, is controlled by nothing but the GST that you are setting, as well as the camera model, right? So since you have set both of them, both GST and camera model, you should be able to view the drone altitude simply by clicking on a mission and then viewing the height here. Right, so this, which means that the altitude for the drone here is about 70 meters.
Great. All right. One last question. How many GCPs do you need to cover the entire site?
Right. So this one, I think we covered it before, but similar to what, similar to the information like image count and all, GCPs are also present here. So let me just center, and yeah, so there are about 41 GCPs that will be required to cover the entire area of interest at the very minimum. So I'm guessing it's going to be 40 plus would be the answer.
Great. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. With that, our assessment is complete. Right. Yeah. I mean, by the way, please do stay on. We do have one more important thing to share here before we wrap up this workshop. So, but yeah, before we get to that, I hope you guys found this workshop useful in, like following through, getting that hands-on experience in, planning missions, planning GSPs for a site for the given client requirements. Okay, so for all of you guys who sort of like patiently went through this workshop with us, we have something new to show you guys. It's something that we released just a day or two ago. It's live today, right? Which is a brand new mission type that we are introducing in DMO, right? And yeah, all about that will be shared by my colleague Hari.
Right. Yeah. So DMO has always catered to multiple use cases that I mentioned before, right? So it was either corridor surveys or area surveys or corridor videography, or even complex mission planning using waypoints, right? But one use case that DMO did not venture into so much previously was into the 3D mapping sector or 3D videography sector. Right. So as the first step, what we have launched now is the ability to map, or rather the ability to cater to use cases like tower inspection or building inspection and things like that. Right. So I'm sure again you'd have received requests from clients for any area to basically take a videography of a particular structure, 360 videography, or a 360 photo, right? So this is something which has been introduced in DMO, right? So let's say that you have this Aravali International School, right? So let's say the client has asked you to take a 360 for this school, right? So you can do that now by clicking on plan, just clicking on the plan mission button, and then clicking on POI, which is the point of interest mission. Right. So here, I mean, you start off. You start off at the center of the map. So you can choose to roughly place it at the center of the school, and you can tweak the radius to ensure that the entire school is captured. Right, this kind of tells you what is the direction that the drone is going to fly, where it's going to start from, etc. Right, and since this requirement was about uh, the client asking for a 360 videography, so DMO caters to that by supporting not only image capture but also videography. So you can do that by changing the media capture to video, right? And you can set some important parameters like what should be the resolution, what should be the quality of the video that you capture here itself, so that you don't need to worry about it when you are actually flying the mission, right? And at this point, yeah, you can just simply click save, and you can already execute it on the Android app. Yeah, so this I would say is just the starting point for DMO to venture into the 3D mapping space. I uh, and I will definitely, or we will definitely update you with a lot more features pertaining to 3D structures very soon. Yeah, that's with respect to POI missions.
Right, and just to add to that, guys, if you want to execute this on the Android app, please make sure that you are on the latest version, right? This is the 2024.9 September update, right? So if whenever you open DMO, if you're an existing user and you had DMO installed previously, if you open the app, it'll prompt you that there's a new update available, or you can go to the settings page and check for updates manually as such, right? So be sure that you're on the latest version for you to see these POI missions that you've planned and be able to execute them. Okay. Yeah, Hari, shall we go ahead and wrap up? We have a few questions just to sort of like understand. Did you guys find this interesting, and what would you guys like our next workshop or webinar to be about? Right. So yeah, just taking that poll. Please do take a few minutes to answer those questions. Right. So yeah, the poll is up. Right. While that's happening, if anyone would like to share their feedback on how they found this workshop, uh, please do raise your hand. We are more than happy to sort of like allow you guys to talk, or you can obviously also pass in your feedback in the comment section. Right, and we'll take this feedback to improve on our upcoming webinars and workshops. Right, we at Scala, we've been doing this on a monthly. Every time we have a new webinar or sorts. So yeah, our next workshop is something that's already planned for. All right. Thank you everyone for being a part of this webinar. We appreciate you guys staying till the end. Right. So yeah, for all the people who have any questions, yeah, actually, you guys can reach out to us, right? So do please connect back with us, right? So whoever's like answer the poll with like wanting a demo of the entire DMO product, don't worry, we'll reach out to you. I believe we have your email addresses, so we will get in touch with you guys. And a recording of this webinar, or this workshop rather, would be sent to everyone as such, all the registrations and all the people who have attended as well. Right, and the same goes for the certificates as well. Right, so we'll go through, we'll see how many of you guys answer the questions correctly during the assessment, and we'll be sending out the certificates to your email. Right, if at all we need any more questions or any more details about this, please, we'll reach out to you. Do respond to us in that regard. Okay. Yeah, I think we can wrap up with this. Hari, shall we do this?
Yeah, we can. Thank you
Okay.
so much, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much again. Bye.
Yeah, bye.